You who are at our seminar today on the business case for nutrition and improving value chain productivity. And I'd like to first hand over the welcome address to Jakob Granit, who is our Center Director for Stockholm Environment Institute in Sweden.
Thanks so much. The microphone is working, yeah. Very welcome to the Stockholm Environment Institute, and we are really happy to see you here at the Institute for this, which I understand is a first discussion on the topic of nutrition and how it links to sustainable business opportunities in a broader sense. Mm-hmm. And as you heard, I'm Center Director here at our office in Stockholm, and also Deputy Director of SIANI globally. And all of you might not know SIANI in detail, but we are an international science to policy institute, and we try to work very broadly across the issues of access to energy, food security, water, livelihood issues, spanning the more complex nexus issues, the trade-offs between water and food, for example, in development, all the way up to the SDG process and international issues related to climate change. So we have to do that work. We work across the world. We have centers in Thailand, in Estonia, we have a small center in Nairobi, in US and in UK. And that type of network gives us a sense of what's going on in different parts of the world. But to be able to carry out this mission of working towards sustainable futures, we have to work with partners. And so that's we're very happy to work with Inclusive Business Sweden, which is not only bringing in other colleagues like the SP, the Swedish Institute, that we are working very closely with, and of course GAIN, Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition, with its broad network globally and excellent work. So that partnership is what makes these discussions interesting and valuable for you, I hope, today. Just as an example illustration of how broad this topic is that you are tackling, but how it also fits into a broader development agenda, we are also very engaged now in the ongoing Stockholm Forum on Security and Development, which is organized by SIPRI. And it's these 2 days in Stockholm. And the discussion is about fragile states, how to create more security for these countries to avoid falling into civil strife and destabilization. And one thing that I took with me from the opening yesterday is what Jan Eliasson, the Assistant Secretary General of the UN, and Minister Lövin said, and that is, we have to work horizontally. The time is up for working in silos, and we really have to work horizontally. And I think the topic we are going into today about nutrition, good, bad nutrition, that is something that really spans the whole spectrum, because it links, as we know, to livelihoods, to education, to health, and all those aspects. So we are very happy that we can also utilize the SIANI, the Swedish International Agriculture Network, to spread the word about this discussion. It is streamed. The broader network will have access to this discussion, and it's recorded for the future, so that what will be said here will be kept and we can build on this discussion. So with that, very happy to see you all at SCI and wish you a great day. And thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm very happy to have that overview. And since you mentioned SIANI, I would just like to add that the network initiative is a CETA-financed project that has been hosted by SEI since 2009. We have, who's one of the statisticians here, 1,500 members and more. Okay, well, I remember the last party we had. We celebrated 1,500. So we have 1,500 members, about almost 90 institutional, those are individual members, 90 institutional. And I urge you all, if you're not already, to sign up to be a member of SIANI Network, because very important information, useful links to other websites and our partners are up at siani.se. So I urge you all to become members. It's very good for your professional development. And we're here co-organizing this with two appreciated partners today, GAIN and Inclusive Business Sweden. I'm the chair. It says chairperson. I'm used to being called a moderator, but that's all right. I interpret chair very literally. I'm going to sit in my chair for most of the time. And I'm very particularly happy we have a very packed program, 10 minutes per presentation. I'd like to have questions saved for after 2 to 3 presentations so that we make sure we keep our time schedule. And I want to point out to you that it is in professional terms, I'm a agricultural production economist, so I'm one of the old school, not only in age, but in training. And it's unusual to find the words business case, value chain, and nutrition in the same headline. They're not. I remember years ago, there's a person, Per Pinstrup Andersen, who's a Danish professor at Cornell, who does a lot of work in nutrition. And he was a lone figure, a sort of a unusual, eccentric person who worked with the Aggies and brought in nutrition to us. But I think this is in line with a general trend that we see in food security, where we're moving from the production-led, food security is producing more food, to the demand-led, to the consumer-oriented, and then, of course, nutrition comes into, because it's not just to increase the production of grains on a global scale. We need to look at what people eat and how it gets to where they are, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, when you look at the productivity aspects of nutrition, as Jakob mentioned, health and livelihoods and education and all these things, which we'll have some very detailed presentations in a minute, then you start realizing that increasing productivity in this way will lead to economic and financial gains. And there's something very important in that for the agro-processing and agro-industry private sector. So, with those words, I will now find my chair and welcome you all, especially though I'm very happy that we're so diverse today. And our first presenter, let's see, my English isn't doing too well today, is Charlotte Pedersen from GAIN, and she's going to give a session on how poor nutrition impacts on production, education, and health in developing countries. Okay, and so we do the technical thing. I think that the technical people are not used to the fact that the chair doesn't go on for 10 minutes. But that'll give us more time to discuss. Thank you, Charlotte.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for getting this opportunity to work with you today on how we can make value chain more productive by using nutrition. I work for the Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition, which is a global organization. We were born in 2002 within the UN system, but we are now an independent organization with headquarters in Geneva. And I work out of the Copenhagen office, and I'm responsible for the work we do with Nordic partners. So we work very much. It says also a bit in our name. We are the Global Alliance. So what we do is really building alliances to make value chains work for the poor, give access to markets, and also we work on nutrition-sensitive value chains. This is not my presentation. I don't know where that is.
Yeah, here are the presentations.
I have a PDF file sent.
This one then.
That is, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, you push down the next one. This is one. How can you push down there for the?
No, this one is not.
Okay, this one. If you can. Okay, but if you can just put it on to the next page. I just wanted to explain that in Scandinavia we have started to work with mainly Danish organization, but also one Swedish, the Tetra Pak, where we really try to work on finding solutions that are market-based, so sustainable and still achieving a nutritional impact. I'll just go up here and see if we can. Can you view here? I don't know why it does like this. But anyway, the size of I wanted this presentation just to give some feeling for what are we actually talking about and how big is this issue. So we have about 800 million people going hungry to bed every day. But we have 2 billion that are actually not getting enough nutrients. So now we're also talking about micronutrients, so vitamins and minerals. And that has a huge impact on people's lives. So really missing essential nutrients in the diet. But we also have, I don't know if some technical person could get this one here to work or not. Okay.
You have to shrink the page to 100, okay?
Did you do that? Okay, that might be it.
This here.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. But, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyway, so but we also should recognize that we have about almost also 2 billion people that are actually overweight, and of these 600,000 are actually million are actually obese as well. So we really need to look at this double burden of malnutrition. So one important part, and actually if we look at this malnutrition part of it, it has huge impact on children's survival. So about 3 million children are actually dying each year, which can be gone back to malnutrition. And actually 1 million of these can actually be attributed to micronutrient deficiency. So if we think how many this is actually each day, it's maybe 3,000 children every day losing their life for missing out of these essential vitamins and minerals. So if that would come up in the papers every day, I think we will have, much more actions around solving this problem, because it is actually solvable. But this is really like a blind spot for the people who are not in nutrition. I know how many of you are actually nutritionists or really working with nutrition? No, that's good, because then I'm not preaching to the one who actually knows this issue. But one of the terms that we are talking about is stunting, and that is actually chronic malnutrition. And it's really, for many people who are not nutritionists, this is really a blind spot. It's not really recognized, because you don't really see children who are stunted, but they are actually very short of their growth. So it's not apparent. It's not like they have big bellies and look very hungry. They are just very small of their age. And it really means that they are not only physically impaired, but also mentally, and the immune system is also impaired because of not getting the right nutrients. And especially a certain period in life, what we call the 1,000 days window, is extremely important to get the right nutrition there. So this is really from when the women get pregnant, and through the pregnancy, through the breastfeeding period, it's important that the children get exclusive breastfeeding at least 6 months, and after that going on to complementary feeding, which also has the right nutrition. Up to the 2nd year, it is so important that the children get enough nutrients in this period. If they don't, they actually do get impaired for the rest of their lives. So it's really important to see how can we break this cycle of malnutrition, because if a child is born, if it survives, and it is born malnourished, it will get, have a higher chance of dying, and if it survives, it has a higher chance of really getting less developed in terms of, like I said, the cognitive and immune systems and so are below average. But also, its learning capabilities is decreased. So especially young girls have a bigger chance of falling out of school. And often the solution is again to get married early, and then we have this cycle of malnutrition running out. So it's also the 1,000 days, but also we put in here the adolescent girls. It's really important that we get solutions that also captures the young women before they actually get pregnant. I have put down some overview of where we actually have this problem, which we call the hidden hunger. So now I'm really talking about these micronutrient deficiencies. So it's, of course, sub-Saharan Africa, but also Southeast Asia, and India is a huge issue. So we will also hear a bit later today about a problem or a solution we have for that problem in India, working with UNILEVER. So just to give a little bit of data in this short introduction, I've taken some data from Ethiopia, where actually, like we saw in the picture from Tanzania, about 40% of the children are stunted. So there are, for many countries in Africa, there is actually been calculated what kind of economical impact does this actually have. So it actually, if you count everything up on the loss you have because of less learning capability, the extra cost of healthcare and so forth, it actually is counted up to 55.5 billion birr, and in Swedish krona it would be about 20 billion Swedish krona, which is lost economic value for the country. So that's a huge sort of business case we have lying here if we can capture that loss. So it's actually in Ethiopia, it really mounts up to 16.5% of GDP. So that's a lot. So what we're going to talk today is about, and my colleague Herbert will give the next presentation, that is really how we can use value chains to really address malnutrition. Really working on three main components: how we can improve the dietary diversity and get more nutritious and diverse food into the basket. There's a component on how we empower women also to take part in the value chain, but also taking the right decisions on a household level, and it has a great component around training and changing behaviors towards making more nutritious choices. So if we can do that, we really can both get more healthy and wealthy farmers and workers, and we can get some happy customers. So that's also another side we need to discuss. How can we really use, Swedish private sector and the value chains they are engaged in, and the Swedish NGOs to really find out how can we use this to reach out, and really using these value chains as channels to reach out to a nutritious solution. And if we do that, we can increase the productivity at farm level, or it can also be in factories, it could even be in mines, wherever we have people that are in the workforce but are still malnourished. This is a channel to reach. And of course, there is also a business case around brand equity that can be captured for the private sector here in Sweden. I'm sorry for the presentation didn't show up, but we can send it out to you so you can have it afterwards. Okay, thank you.
Okay, now after that general introduction on the concepts of nutrition, I think stunting is really quite shocking if you think about the economic impact it has, plus the impact on the development of the human being, which is as important on the micro level as the economy is on the macro. Now I think we'll have a more specific discussion. You can present yourself here a little about what you are, and on how nutrition can be looked at in a value chain.
Thank you. So my name is Herbert Smooiberg. I work for GAIN in the Netherlands office, and I'm leading GAIN's program on cash crop value chain nutrition. And today we'll specifically talk about cash crops, which means farmers and workers are working on an agricultural produce that is sold and not for their own consumption. So it could be tea, coffee, cocoa, flowers, bananas, anything that generates an income but is not for their own food and nutrition security. Again, there's more detail than I can cover in the 10 minutes, but a few assumptions. So we're working with existing businesses, supply chains of these cash crops. There is an income for the people that we target. It may be a minimum wage, it may be low, but there is some income. But it doesn't lead automatically to a good nutrition situation. That's what we have learned, what we see. Despite income and earnings, we'll see stunting prevalence of 40 to 70% of people working in these cash crop value chains. And so what we're trying to do is improve the nutrition situation by making use of the existing agricultural infrastructure, so whether it's a plantation or whether it is extension workers that work with smallholder farmers, we use that existing infrastructure, and we realize that there is some income, it may be a little bit, and it's much more about behaviors and awareness of the farmers and the workers than the fact that they don't have anything. We do this not alone. We work, as Charlotte mentioned, in partnership with many other organizations. And we work in Indonesia, Malawi, India, and we're going to start working in Kenya, Ghana, and Ivory Coast. Mainly in the tea sector at the moment, moving into the cocoa sector. And it's still a program in development. This is something that is relatively new. It's not fully developed. I need to disappoint you if you expect to see a hard business case on retention and productivity figures. There is some literature that shows that improved nutrition, for example, for tea workers in India with iron supplementation leads to an increased productivity. We are focusing much more on how can we improve. How can we develop a program, an approach that can be taken up by businesses working in these value chains, that is easily understood, it's pragmatic in terms of its implementation, and it does lead to a nutritional outcome, and it's scalable. For those who want it, there is a complex theory of change, and it's much more complex, but basically, I don't know whether you can see it on the bottom, but there is a stream that looks at dietary diversity. So generally, these people have enough food, enough calories, but it is monotonous. It's staple-based, and it's only your ugali or your rice or your whatever, and it's monotonous. So that's one stream, and that is where our main effort is. There is another stream that looks at supplemental sources, and as Charlotte showed, for specific target groups, for example, lactating and pregnant women, young children, dietary diversity is not enough. You need to have specific interventions to address the nutritional needs of those people. That's this stream. And then thirdly, if the hygienic circumstances are poor and people are receptive to illnesses, malaria or diarrhea, then you can do on the nutritional side whatever you want, but if it gets out, it is not absorbed in the body. So we're looking at that integrated approach. I'm going to take you now to Indonesia, and where we have started working in 2013, in communities, smallholder farmers that produce tea and sell that to a cooperative where the tea is then produced. And so this is not, these are smallholder independent farmers, so there is not a feeding program that you sometimes see at plantations, but this is basically individuals. We have focused on behavior change, so giving training. So we've trained extension workers and sort of people in the community to give the training to the farmers and their wives, if the wives are not the farmers themselves, about what good nutrition is. And we have taken the concept of dietary diversity. So basically we say the world of food exists of several food groups. People understand food groups. So you have your staples, you have your animal or your protein sources, you have your green leafy vegetables, you have orange fruits. And we have divided the world in 10 food groups and basically say you need to eat every day 5 food groups. That is a concept that is easily understood and everyone understands that. That's what we have focused on. And we have basically looked at a baseline and measured sort of how much and how often do people eat certain food groups. And if you look at vitamin A rich vegetables and tubers, the orange food groups as we present them, we have a baseline and we have an end line. And sort of in a year's intervention, we see significant changes in the consumption of sort of nutritious food groups. And you see that for all the food groups. And and what we realized in these tea farming communities, which are far away from sort of urban markets, they get to the market only once a week, perhaps, that access to vegetables and fruits, etc., was a limitation factor. So one, awareness of that they should consume more fruits and vegetables, but then how do you get access to those? But these are farming families, so when you tell them you should eat this, it's quite easy to start vegetable gardening and give them the ideas, and that worked quite well. And so what you see here is that basically cultivation of vegetables increased very largely. So we had some demo plots in the communities, how to do it, to overcome the issues that the young plants are eaten by the chickens. They invented that themselves, do it at an elevation, and so quite engaging the whole community into solutions. And you see an enormous increase in vegetable gardening in these communities, and which explains in the end also the huge shift in the dietary diversity. So what you see here on the horizontal axis is the number of food groups that people report that they have eaten the 24 hours before. And so the yellow is the distribution of food groups in our baseline, where you see this monotonous diet. I mean, people eat at maximum sort of 3-4 food groups, which is rice, a little bit of some vegetables, and if you're lucky, a third element. And what you see after this intervention, there's a huge increase of dietary diversity. Now, in the nutritionists, and that's been validated, that nutritionists find that if you eat a diet of 5 or more food groups, that leads to, in general, to a nutrient adequate diet. So you get sufficient micronutrients and protein, etc. If that variety broadens, and that's what we intuitively know, but that's been validated in the nutrition research, that should be a nutrient adequate diet. So we have focused at this level the intervention. We haven't gone into blood sampling or measuring stunting. I mean, these are effects that are very long term. You won't see in a year's time a difference, but this is how we measure the impact. It's relatively simple, and what we can learn here from Indonesia, that this intervention at least shows relevant results on nutritional outcomes. Whether that leads to a higher productivity of these farmers or less sickness, or so what is the business case? We haven't looked at that in Indonesia. We are looking at it as we speak now in Malawi at the tea estates, but that is still work in progress, and we'll hope to report in the future on that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Very good. Okay. We're going to have one more presentation, and then we'll take questions from the floor. Okay. Please, Johan,
It's going to be tricky.
from the Swedish Food Federation. I think you need to be fitted with a microphone.
Okay.
Going to look at the importance.
No, that's not mine.
You won.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you weren't supposed to be here yet. So she was being very efficient. But you are here.
I'm so close to your topic, so.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I will broaden the perspective a little bit, and I will talk about the importance of a sustainable value chain and how this can improve the nutrition in developing countries. And my name is Johan Anell, and I'm representing the Swedish Food Federation. I'm the sustainability manager at the Swedish Food Federation. And the Swedish Food Federation is we are the employer and trade federation for the food industry in Sweden and represent approximately 850 members, all from the global players within the food industry to your local bakery. And employs approximately 55,000 persons in Sweden, and 38 of those are women. And we're working hard with the sustainability issues when it comes to food production. And we launched a sustainability manifesto almost 3 years ago, 2.5. And the purpose is to raise the awareness about sustainability issues and CSR issues linked to food productions, both for the food manufacturers in Sweden, but also for the public and for the politicians, and to raise awareness that a lot of things are happening within the companies. And to make this very communicative, we made 10 commandments that the food industry has to follow. And it's all from reducing your energy use to work with zero accidents in your plant, and also to use sustainably grown produce. And if we move on, this is the global risk report, or global risk survey that is taken from the World Economic Forum, where you can see the companies are looking at the risks in the next 18 months compared to 10 months when it comes to overall risks linked to your company profile. And as you can see, for the next 18 months, it's a lot of the risks are linked to the society today. You can see large-scale migration, but also you can see a risk of state collapse or crisis. But for the next 10 years, almost all these 5 risks are linked to food production. You can see the risks of water crisis, climate change, extreme weather events, and food crisis. And this is, of course, risks that are all linked to food production and also the nutrition in developing countries. And this is one of many reasons why it's important to work with a sustainable supply chain for a Swedish food producer. And I would say that the sustainable supply chain involves 4 different aspects. It's traceability, fair working condition, sustainable sourcing, but also packaging and transportation. And to traceability, this is a picture that shows the modern value chain when it comes to food production. And it's of course very important, and it's a very crucial thing for the Swedish food producer to understand better the value chain and how they are part in a global value chain, and how to work with, for example, the small-scale coffee farmer in South America, and how this is part of a much bigger global value chain. And another example is not only in developing countries, we also have to work with the working condition in Sweden. For example, we have the berry pickers that come here every summer to earn their living picking berries in the forests, and we've been working very hard to make the situation better for the berry pickers, both from Southeast Asia, but also those coming from Southern Europe. And this is, of course, we have to work both with the working conditions in developing countries when we're sourcing produce from developing countries, but we also have to work with the working conditions here in Sweden, both in the factories, but also, for example, when we have people working source the products. And another example that we've been working on, trying to improve the value chain, but also, and if you improve the value chain, you also improve the living for a lot of people, and that's the initiative Sustainable Sourcing of Palm Oil. And 40% of the farmers, when it comes to palm oil, is smallholders, and it's of course very important for us to find ways on how to improve both the big value chain or the global value chain when it comes to palm oil, but also trying to improve the situation for the smallholders. And this we're trying to do by making an initiative for all the Swedish food producers to only use RSPO certified palm oil. That's not enough, but it's one way on how to work with the value chain from Sweden to the ground in Southeast Asia. And also we're working with the water. We have very good water conditions here in Scandinavia and Sweden, but as you could see in the first slide, or one of the first slides that I show you, water crisis is one of the emerging challenges when it comes to food production globally. And this is one way on how we're working in Sweden together with Stockholm International Water Initiative with a water cluster on how to find ways on working with your water impact and how you can reduce your water footprint. And it's very hard for a small, medium-sized Swedish company to find your own way on how to work with reducing your water footprint. You have to do this together. And this is one way on how to find an easy way or 5 steps on how you can reduce your water footprint. And that was my last slide. That was just a small picture of it.
That was great. I'm so impressed that everyone's keeping time without me waving my watch and shrieking and all that. Very good. Okay, well, I think we have a few minutes here. We can take some questions from the floor for the first 3 presentations, if anybody has any. Okay. I've abused my position as chairperson and would like to ask a question from Herbert. You said that you don't know the long-term impact of your improved nutrition. You've only had time to measure the increased diversity of consumption and things, but you do have plans to measure any impact on productivity, and if so, where can we find those?
Okay. I think there are... Sorry, yeah.
I think you ought to talk to everyone.
Yeah.
Not just me.
I think there are 2 answers to that question. Okay. One, what we have shown here is the change in the dietary patterns after 1 year. And so one valid question is, what will this last? When the project is over, and when will this last forever? So that's one dimension that we're going to follow up to sort of track during time whether this is a sustainable intervention that has a lasting impact. Okay. Secondly, it's difficult to measure the productivity of smallholder farmers. So how do you do that? So where we have started to work is with estates where workers, tea pickers, are employed, and where they keep records of people being present or absent from work. And so what we want to do, but that's only work that we have started sort of last year, is when you do nutrition interventions, do you see, first of all, more social well-being? Is there, from the workers' perspective, more loyalty to the company, more satisfaction because they see an improvement from the employer on the food provision or the food infrastructure? So that's one dimension that may lead to longer-term loyalness to the company, less sort of work turnover or employer turnover. Secondly, what we find in Malawi that approximately on average 20% of the workforce is not turning up at work for various reasons. reasons that are related to illnesses, reasons that are related to, we have received our money last Saturday and so we had a good party on Sunday and I don't feel well to go to work on Monday. There is a funeral in the village and the whole village goes to the funeral instead to work. So there are all kinds of reasons. But what we hope to see that if there is a nutrition program and that leads to a healthier nutritional status and therefore people are less receptive to illnesses or their children are less receptive to illnesses, that leads to a reduced absenteeism. And that even if we can shift from 20% to 90% absenteeism, that makes a huge economic case at the planning of the logistics in that whole supply chain. Okay. So that's what we're looking at, but obviously you'll understand that will take some time, and we will certainly publish the results. You can find it always at our GAIN website, what we publish, but when that is, I can't promise.
Yeah, that's all right. You already won my heart when you said measuring small farmer productivity is not easy.
Yeah.
No, it's not, but we're always happy to see it go forward. Is there any other questions from the floor? Cecilia.
Thank you. Cecilia from CEDA. I have a question for you too. Sorry, it was so interesting. You had a slide of the Central Java and West Java, and we could see that the response was somewhat different. And I take it that is for all the countries that you're working with. Have you been able to analyze what are the key factors in your approaches that determine the outcome or the result in response of the communities?
And again, we see some differences, and actually we're focusing much more on the similarities than the differences so far. So our conclusion has been in both cases has worked to a certain extent. We see some differences. We don't understand fully because we haven't measured all the details and dimensions. What worked, what didn't work. What we have learned here that in the Indonesia case, the involvement of the local community, and this was a case where there's a year-round being follow-up with community involvement, has worked well. We don't know why the differences are. What we hope to learn from now our work in India, in the south of India, Katja will tell a little bit more about it, our work in Malawi, that we're starting to see patterns and get a better step. But this is relatively young work, and it's, as I said, it's in development. So the ins and outs, when and how it works, and we can't compare the different interventions directly because, again, they are always a little bit different. It's not completely randomized controlled trials in one or the other. So that's part of the nature of the work.
Okay, I'm going to have to say thank you. Sorry that I couldn't allow more questions. And we have to get going here because we're 1 minute behind schedule. Thank you, Johan. I'm very impressed to see that the private sector has such a good control of their sourcing. And traceability is a very, very important for the consumer, to know where things come from and to be able to rely on that information. Okay, thank you. Our next presentation is by Katja Frevald, who from UNILEVER. Now.
No, I'm not.
Now it's your turn. A particular activity called Seeds for Prosperity, and I'll leave it to you.
Okay, thank you. As you see already on the design, so what I'm talking about is very much linked to the work that Herbert presented. Just on myself, my name is Katja Frevald. I'm the Global Partnerships Director within UNILEVER. And what I'm basically doing, referring to what Jacob said in the beginning, in order to really tackle this very complex issue, we will need to work in partnerships. And that's something what is not only realized by the development community, but also from the private sector. So the department that I'm working in, we are really looking to cooperate with organizations like GAIN, UN agencies, government organizations, and particularly myself, I'm looking very much in the area of women's empowerment, nutrition and smallholder farming, and that's where I also come in the game here. I want to share a little bit more on what we have been doing in the past in this area together with GAIN. But before I'm doing this, I just want to give you a little bit of a perspective why a private sector company like UNILEVER is very much interested in that topic and really wants to actively participate here. And not only want, but we really must participate in here because there's a business case for us in this topic. So just a couple of years back, and my colleague Maria, who's from Sweden and UNILEVER, could tell much more after that if that's interesting for the Swedish community. But in 2010, we had a really very significant strategic shift within UNILEVER, and we launched our Compass strategy, which really anchored our vision that we want to make sustainable living commonplace. Very bold vision for a company like UNILEVER. And again, we are a private sector company, and we are not doing that out of CSR or out of charity purpose. We're a company and we need to make business. So the vision that we have set is really we want to double the size of our business. But the way we want to do that is by reducing our environmental impact and also increase our social impact. And the way how we really anchor that in the strategy, so it's not something what is led by our department, it's something what is really anchored and it's our core strategy as a company. And we have set 3 very big bold targets. So we want to improve the health and well-being of 1 billion people. We want to halve our environmental footprint, and we want to enhance the livelihoods of millions of people. And in this last third pillar, actually the program what I'm going to describe now is falling very much under this last pillar. Now, again, as we said, in order to really drive transformational change in these areas that are important to us, we need to work with organizations like yourself, and we really looked from a UNILEVER perspective. If we really want to create systemic change, and we really believe that we need to work on a horizontal way, we cannot do this in all areas that are important to us. So we have really looked at 3 what we call transformational areas, and the one that I'm going to focus today on is really the one in the middle, championing sustainable agriculture and smallholder farmers. So that's something what's very important to our business. Now, for your background, UNILEVER is working with more than 500,000 smallholder farmers in our supply chain, and that's increasing over the years. So what we have said and what we are aimed is we have said we really want to enhance the livelihoods of these smallholder farmers, but a lot of them are obviously, we only reach them through our suppliers. So what we have looked over the past 2 years, we have said we really want to look into what does it mean actually enhancing the livelihoods of smallholder farmers, and how can we do that? Now, over the past 6-7 years, we have worked very much on certification, sustainable sourcing, but what we have said, and Herbert's echoed that as well, what we've seen, sustainable sourcing or certification strategies that do not necessarily lead to enhanced livelihoods in the way that we really would have envisioned. And that's why we've came up with a new strategy and said, which are the areas that we really want to focus on? So we're going to continue working on sustainable sourcing practices and drive certification further. But we have also said we really want to look at other areas that we think are very important to us as a business, but very important also from a smallholder perspective to improve their life. One area is nutrition, and another area which is very close to our business is the whole area around wash. So we are a business that has a big business in sanitation, wash products, etc. And we really think that's an area that we can champion as a company as well. Now, in order to implement these areas, we know there are a couple of things that are inherent, like we want to stimulate entrepreneurship in these areas. We want to we need to offer finance solutions to the farmers. And one area, what you also mentioned, what is very important to us, and actually became this year a 4th transformational area for us, is the whole area of women's empowerment. And a lot of the smallholder farmers are women, so we really look through all the interventions with the lens of women. Now, coming to the area of smallholder farmers and improving their livelihoods, we are not only working with GAIN, but we are really working with a variety of partners. And maybe one thing which is quite interesting to mention as well through a private sector lens, we really want to stimulate also investing in market-based solutions in the supply chain. So for example, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Acumen, which is an impact investor. So we are looking also on kind of finding social enterprises, linking them to our supply chain, and really driving the impact in the areas that I've described before. But very an outstanding partner for us over the last years is Gain, and Charlotte and Herbert and the whole team in the Netherlands have been very front running with us to really drive to nutrition programs in particularly our tea supply chain. And I know I'm very short in time, so I'm trying to just give you a little bit of a flavor of the work in our tea supply chain, which we have started in India. And as Herbert shared before, we are interested in rolling this out in other countries like Kenya, for example, where Unilever has a very significant tea supply chain. Now, I'm not going to go in all the nutrition background, just for a little reminder. I mean, for us, it's really important that we improve the nutrition of these smallholder farmers in our supply chain. And the way we want to do it is through an integrated approach, which we have seen before on improving dietary diversity and other nutrition interventions, but also linking that into the whole hygiene and wash area. So we really want to drive a very combined program. And we as a Unilever think we can add quite some expertise, especially also in the area of health and hygiene. Again, we're not going in the very complex theory of change, but what I've tried to do is just trying to minimize that to three areas where I think what's important to us through a Unilever lens. Again, the first thing, the impact on nutrition is obviously very important to us, but we also said we really want to look through a much more business lens here. We really are interested in exploring opportunities on market-based solutions, fortified products. We are a foods company as well to really improve the nutrition. But also we do have strategies in place that really are market-based in order to improve hygiene practices in smallholder farmer communities. Now, you cannot see this very well, but I think it's a very important one, actually. Why is this so important as a business? What's the business case for us? And there are a couple of areas that I think are important to Unilever and why we are doing that. And the first one is not only from an ethical perspective to really drive very responsible supply chains, but for us it's kind of important to survive our business. That's our future supply. And if these farmers, and we know 85 or 70% of the food is produced by smallholder farmers, and this is the input to our product. So if we do not have our house in order, there's a risk to our business in the future. So that's first area of a business case for us. Obviously, we have set this target on improving health and well-being, and that's inherent for us. And we really want to drive that forward. And one thing what is pretty new and which it's very close to my heart and where I'm really happy about is a big part of our business is foods. And the foods team has really revised their strategy into really driving sustainable nutrition in the future. So it's becoming part of the core strategy. And programs like this are really part of that. And we will have place in here and room to also drive market-based solutions forward which help to grow our business. So I think that gives you maybe a little bit of an idea why we are really interested in that. And it's not only that Unilever should take and win out of this. I think there's also a big way on how we can give to the smallholder farmers. How can we help to enhance these programs or develop these programs together with partners like Gain, for example. And what I just want to share very quickly with you is the ultimate objective is improving nutrition of the farmers. And we don't want to do that through a lens of this is the solution, you need to adapt it. But we want to look at smallholder farmers who are in the end consumers as well. So what can we do to make nutrition aspirational for them? How can we create this pull that people really want to have healthier diet? What's kind of the story for them? What's in for them? And I think us as a company, we have a lot of expertise to think in a consumer way. And there is a model which has been developed over the past 5 years on behavioral change together with leading scientists. So it's not something what is only created by UNILEVER. And I've got for you some background information here to read on that. So what we have looked at this model, which is based very simply simplified now in this graph on 4 phases to create awareness, get commitment from the people to really practice the new behavior, reinforce the behavior, and ultimately reward people. So that's kind of the 4 phases, very simplified, and leading also to what Herbert said before, can we sustain the behavioral change over a long time? And we do believe by adapting this model, linked with really the follow-up with our suppliers, we think there can be a sustained behavioral change. Now, Lifebuoy, I'm not sure if people know about this, but it's a soap. And over the last years, we have created the largest hand washing program in the world, which really has proven this model referred in Harvard's Business Review. USAID has taken this on. So there's a lot of science rigorous here that this model is working. And what we're trying to do now in the space of nutrition, take the elements out of that and translate this into the dietary diversity program, which Herbert referred to. And we have started to test this in India in our tea supply chain. Unfortunately, the baseline is done, but our endline results are due by the end of next month, so I cannot share this yet. But what we see in the first feedback is that it's working quite well. And that's just a flavor of the materials that we are using. So do I still have 2 minutes or? Yes. Yeah, so I'm trying to write here. But I think that's quite an important one. So let me just try to explain that from much more as a perspective. I'm the smallholder farmer, and what do I get in this program? So first of all, what is very important for me, I do not have an idea why nutrition is so important to me. I actually do not have an idea that I'm doing something wrong. I don't know that my family is undernourished or malnourished. And that's the reality on the ground that we saw, that people do not know what's good nutrition and why it's important to them. So that's the first thing in this whole phase on creating awareness. How can we overcome that? And a very simplified way, we have a lot of posters explaining, make this all very attractive and understandable for them. But I think the one key insight, what we have learned, farmers know how to grow food. They know how to nurture their plants. They do not know how to nurture their families, not because they don't want, because they do not know. So what we've tried to start the dialogue with them is, this is a plant, this is a good plant, this is a bad plant. How can you nurture your plant? So we all kind of mirrored what has been done in their good agricultural practices to make sure their plant is growing, they have the best yields, etc. So they see that it's working, and now we tell them, that's what you need to do to nurture your family. And why is that important? Because it helps your children to have a brighter future, they perform better in school, etc. But by making this comparison, the farmer does understand it. So that first step to really create that awareness and make it easy to understand is very crucial for the success. So that's kind of all these materials developed for that. Afterwards, what's very important is what we have learned through the hand washing model, that people need to really pledge that they are doing that. So you really need to kind of make them in the communities stand for this. We are doing this collectively as a community, and that's very important, that step. It sounds a little bit, not so needed, but it's very needed. So that's the second phase. And then we have developed a couple of materials that help them to really reinforce the behavior more and more. Tracking sheets, 21 days that they really practice the behavior. We have made a lot of materials that help them to really make it easy for them. So that's really the phase of reinforcement. And then obviously you need, they're consumers, they're human beings, you need to be rewarded to do that. So we have looked at a couple of rewards, and one which seems to work very well is a game where the whole family can come together and play, reinforcing again the messages. So that's kind of what we have for the moment. And I'm not saying that's the perfect thing. We are learning, as Herbert said, we are looking if this is working. We see the first reactions are very good, and we are here to kind of really adapt that and learn by going. So that's a quick overview from my side. Thank you very much.
I think that was one of our longer presentations.
I'm sorry.
No, on a good way, in a good way, so we can take questions directly.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So, are there any questions here from the floor? Okay. No one has a. Yeah. Okay. We're giving him a chance to ask. All right. Well,
I'm staying here for the rest of the time, so
yeah. Okay. I have a little question. As usual, using my position as chair. I wonder, what channels do you use to communicate with the community? Unilever, as a company, do they send people out into the field, or how do you reach these communities and smallholders?
That's the one slide that I just.
You went by it. Okay.
No, so basically, one thing what we really wanted to do and where we looked into is what we don't want to create is kind of a secondary channel to hire an NGO, go into the supply chain, speak about it, stay there for a couple of months, pull out, and then let's see if it's working for the rest of the day. Just to simplify that, what we said is very important. We want to sustain the behavioral change. So we are building on the existing implementation structures that we do have on the ground. So if you take the example of tea, there are two ways to look at that. So one is, if you purely look from a smallholder farmer perspective, there is an infrastructure on the ground where, There is an infrastructure on the ground where you basically have a trainer structure in place that are working with the smallholder farmers on improving their yields, on agricultural practices. And what we want to do, or what we are doing, is basically add on nutrition to that infrastructure, train these trainers, and use them basically to further train the nutritional programs. The reason why we think that's very good is that we do not need to stop after a couple of months. So we can kind of have reiterations afterwards if we see it's not working or we need to fine tune. So really building on the existing structures. And equally in estates, there the infrastructure is even better. You have a good network on the ground, which we're going to use. So no new structures, building on what's existing and using GAIN in this case as the one that building kind of the skills and the capacity on the ground in terms of nutrition
Training.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. I think that's extremely interesting because now in all the world, all of us Aggies will have to be nutritionists. And I think your similarity between a healthy plant and a healthy family is a very easily understood by agricultural production people. Okay. Thank you very much. And sorry, Per, go ahead.
I have one question. It's quite straightforward. I think it's about when you said pledging or commitment and so on. How do you actually do it? Because I mean that's one of the key challenges in all this kind of awareness creation. How do you make sure that the village or the household is actually committed?
So I think this is also very specific on a country context and on the implementation channel what you have. So what we have learned from our hand washing experience, our programs were very much in the schools. So we have used the children as change agent, and they pledged together with their parents to apply these hand washing behaviors. And then what we could see is that if parents do that together with the children are the ones that reinforce and kind of, we have promised that, so we need to do that. So that's one thing which is working. In this implementation channel, it's a bit more difficult. So we're trying to get the communities together, but also we're using, again, the supplier on the ground, which has a very close relationship to the farmers. And they bring people together and they say, you are our farmer suppliers, we pledge together, you are part of our community. So if we really want to have a successful crop and successful farmer families in the future, we need to do this together. So there we use the power of the supplier and the master trainers and the field workers on the ground to really reinforce. Again, we don't know yet the results from India, but that's what we're trying to do.
Very interesting. Okay. Any more questions?
Mine is just a comment. In Tanzania, the UNILEVER are using some of the radios which are being listened by many listeners to to talk about the diversity in diets. Yeah, so they're telling about how to plan your breakfast, how to plan for a healthy lunch, and so forth. So it's working.
Maybe a comment on that. So when I was speaking about the market-based solutions, fortified products, etc., so we have a lot of categories, and what you are referring to, that indeed have nutrition programs that they are implementing in the whole markets. So an idea for us in the long run is dietary diversity is the anchor point, and we think it's very easy to understood by farmers. But obviously, if this is working, we could add on other fortified messages or products which they could kind of use this fortification, because that's important. So, and then we can also use and tap into kind of the brand programs that are available from a UNILEVER perspective. But for the moment, we've said we want to focus first and get the dietary diversity right and work in that channel of suppliers. And then we use radio as well in the future. That's certainly a possibility and great.
Those are the blue band people.
Yeah. I'm delighted to hear that.
Everybody knows what Blue Band is. Okay. Yes, please.
Yes. Hello, my name is Annie Grosse. Hello, my name is Annie Grosse, and I come from WeEffect. Just to get a picture of the extent of your activities and your projects, how many villages are you active within, and how many farmers are you reaching?
Well, I cannot tell you the number of villages, but I can tell you the number of farmers. So our universe, what we are aiming to reach, is 500,000 smallholder farmers. Now, we have started in India with a program which is reaching for the moment 5,000 farmers in the tea supply chain. We have another supply chain of gherkins, which is about 10,000 farmers we are trying to reach. But what we have signed an agreement for is we really want to upscale this now to Kenya and to our further tea plantations in India. And I think in the next 2-3 years, and looking at Herbert, we are still working on kind of the numbers, but I think something like 100 and 150,000 is realistic. And
do you work with like local farm organizations, or?
Yeah, with our supplier network on the ground. So it's
only supplier networks. Oh.
Yeah, and again, kind of the way also how we work in terms of how to reach the scale, this should not be a UNILEVER show. I mean, the tea sector is very big. We have a big influence in the tea sector, and what we are trying to do is influence the sector. So, for example, part of that program is IDH. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but it's a convener that is bringing the tea industry, the cocoa industry together to convene on certain interventions. So one ultimate vision why we have brought them on board is to convene the tea industry and say, other suppliers and private sector companies, you need to act on this, and we want to be the pioneer and pushing the industry and create that pull, because once it's done and it's becoming a standard, everybody needs to follow, and that's where the scale also comes in, but that's nothing what we can do alone.
Okay, I guess the standards of these kind of corporations have to develop. So is UNILEVER, would you be open to make like a cooperation with other companies from the private sector?
We do, and we urge for that. And if you follow a little bit our CEO, he's the first person that is always kind of inviting other companies. So very, very open. And if you take the tea sector, I'm just back last week from Kenya, not on nutrition, but a big issue is women's empowerment, sexual harassment, etc. in supply chains. So we have kind of pushed this forward from our side and convened and invited other suppliers and companies that are sourcing in Kenya to really collectively drive a change here, because it's important for the industry. Certainly open for other.
We think so too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Great. Now you're excused.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a next program presentation. Yeah. Okay. Now from WeEffect, we have, Mutali I can say, but Archangel, yeah? Okay, I thought the same as in the church. Okay, there we go. I wasn't sure. Okay, we're going to have a presentation now on homegrown school feeding programs. School feeding programs, for example, this is an example from Malawi, but they're very famous from Brazil, which has managed to incorporate smallholder productivity in its local supply of better nutrition for school children, and had a win-win-win situation in terms of their social safety net, which is also another word that us Aggies have to get used to. Not easy, but there we go. Thank you very much. Please give your
All right,
presentation.
thanks. And thanks, everyone. I am Makenjo Muntali from Malawi. And welcome to Malawi. I think Gain was talking about Malawi somewhere, but now you have the face of Malawi. Yeah, I work with WeEffect. This is my 3rd year doing the homegrown school feeding program as the program coordinator. I'll talk about slightly the Malawi Lake Basin program that WeEffect is working with the other local NGOs in Malawi, and then talk a little bit about the situation analysis, and then I'll dwell into the homegrown school feeding program. In Malawi, WeEffect is working with the via agroforestry, Malawi Union of Savings and Credit Cooperatives, MUSCO. This one does the financial services. And the Farmers Union, it's a union of farmers that are in Malawi, and the National Smallholder Farmers Association of Malawi. We are implementing the Malawi Lake Basin program along the lake, the districts that are along the lake, and it is basically on the agriculture, climate change, energy, nutrition. Then we also have the aspect of business development and marketing, and the financial services. That's where Malawi Union of Savings and Credit Cooperatives fits in. And then we have the organizing farmers into groups or cooperatives and associations, and that's where the Farmers Union of Malawi comes in. But then, when we were in the course of implementation, we saw that there was a challenge of markets. And the other part was that the aspect of nutrition was not being taken care of. So together with the WFP, we now employed the homegrown school feeding program. I think for those who have done research, the time when we came from the single party to multi-party, that president introduced the free primary education. It was an exciting thing, but then what happened was that we had a lot of enrollment. As we were in the middle, then we started experiencing the dropout rates, high dropout rates. So one of the things that was looked into was that hunger and malnutrition have been identified as a strong factor in the school attendance. And linking to that, we also believe that agriculture could contribute to nutrition by increasing the availability of staples, access to micronutrient-rich food, income, and women's empowerment. So from the Malawi Lake Basin side, the one that I was talking about also tackles the issue of women empowerment. And then these women are also linked to the homegrown school feeding program. So here, usually what happens is that these women are involved in the cooking for the students, but then they rotate, like in the communities. So the nutrition idea is actually spread out through the process. The objective was that poverty alleviation and rural development through support to local agricultural production and markets should be enhanced. Improvement of children's health, nutrition, and education status, as per the problem that I was talking about, and the development of a viable local supply and demand model, because we, like I said, we had the problem of markets for the farmers that we are working with. And the key partners, we are working with WFP, we are working with FAO and Gnamien, and then the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Education local farmers, and the we effect. Now, like as of to date, what is happening is that we receive funding, and then here we have incorporated another research institution. It is the Center for International Potato. I hope probably you know it. Why we have done that is that we saw that in the process of implementing the homegrown school feeding program, crops that were being produced, some of them were not that nutritious. So CIP came in with the sweet orange potato to take care of the iron deficiency. And here, from the funding, we effect supports the cooperatives or the farmers. We do the nutrition calendar, the food availability calendar. We also do the financial services. We do the group organization, group dynamics, and how they can live. They can stay in the corps. And then here, these farmers, they sell to the schools, but in addition to the schools, they also sell to P4P, Purchase for Progress. This one is also an organized market. Why we do that? Because the schools that we are working with now, they are about 43, but it is a small market. So to take care of, let's say, the surplus and the demands, we have also linked the farmers to the other markets. That's how it is working. And then we also have this one, the Mufuna Sacco. It is a savings cooperative. There then, when they save and do the businesses, they would also, like now, be able to send their children to the schools. One thing that we have noted from the farmers and the community is that because of the homegrown, we have the reliable markets, that's obvious, and the increased productivity. Under the increased productivity, we've actually just isolated a few because it has been difficult for to cover everyone. But what we have seen is especially what someone was producing per unit area. That is what has increased, and that's the effect of we effect. Then we have diversified income. Like in the past, they would only probably sell, you talk of maize, but this time because at the school they are demanding several diversified kind of foodstuffs, then these farmers are involved into also several interventions. As a result, we have experienced that one. And then crop diversification and change in food habits. This one is at the community level. The issue is when the students eat different foods at the schools, they also go home and tell their parents. Then the ones who are cooking, as they are rotating, they are also gaining some knowledge, and the diversification in food habits is also increasing. Then in addition to that, we also conduct the community awarenesses. That one is on large masses. And because of that, we've also seen that this now is a story that can be told in the communities. Then, because of the standards that are demanded in the homegrown school feeding program, we've seen that the farmer organizations are also getting more and more organized. And so far, we are working with 8 cooperatives, but there are small ones. Like this time, I've experienced the cooperatives in Sweden that an advanced level as compared to ours that side. From the school side, what we've seen is there is now better health and the nutrition status, increased school attendance. This one, like in the past, you'd see we had some like 25%, but we have 48%. And the low dropout rate, high pass rate, we had we had 54, but now we have 68. Increased motivation and concentration by learners, and this is like, you know, should say, I want to go to school because there is something that I'll get. And so far we have 46,619 learners, of which 23,000 they are girls, and it is in 43 primary schools. So the 43, we have 3 districts, Palombe, Salima, and Mangochi. That's what we are doing as of now. But then the other success is that the government has also seen that this initiative is helping, and we are working together with WFP to like how to scale out to the other schools, and also government to like channel the model in these different districts. That's that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very nice presentation.
Thank
I
you.
would have liked to see success 3 presented, which is the government and the macroeconomic gains from doing this, because that's a very important way to clarify why you should have further support for this. It's important in fundraising.
Thank you.
So that you get successes 1 and 2. Yeah, please. I have 2 people here. One over here first. Can I put it on?
Hello, my name is Sarah and come from the Hunger Project, a global organization. I was just wondering how is your programs, are your programs affected by the current drought in Malawi?
Yeah.
And what you do to to improve the situation given these circumstances, these conditions?
Thank you. Should I take it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. The current drought is actually a threat to this initiative, and like this time, I'll tell you that we had the prolonged one in the planting season, which affected like most of the crops, and we had I think most of them dried out. But then what we've done as an initiative now from the Malawi Lake Basin program supporting the homegrown is that we've involved the farmers in the winter production, and then we through the CIP that I was talking about, we have also supplied the sweet potato vines. But then we are also expecting that we would have some funding, actually, because there is a fundraising activity now, that we should have the cassava cuttings, and in the winter farming, farmers are able to plant even the staple food like maize, of which we believe that if it can be done at a reasonable scale, the farmers will be able to sustain themselves as well as supply some of the products to the schools. So that's what is happening as of now. Thank you.
Thank you for your very interesting presentation. And I've been working in school feeding programs with WFP for quite a while, and I think it's a well-known fact that school feeding programs promote school attendance and reduce dropout rates, whether or not that's locally grown.
Yeah.
So that's good. My question is, I've 2 or 3, perhaps 3 questions.
Yeah.
Sort of, you mentioned sweet potatoes as an element. So, how do you look at what that the nutritional composition or the composition of what is being prepared? So, what is it? If you could enlighten, has that had consequences for the cost per meal? Because sort of the staple-based traditional World Food Program school feeding programs is maize and beans, and you cook it. Yeah. So is there an increase in cost, which is always important when it's you're looking for upscaling? And thirdly, you mentioned you had an impact on health and nutritional status. I'm very curious what you have measured, how you have measured that.
All right. Okay. Maybe I should start with the third one. Yeah, I think so. Because basically, what is happening is we've been doing like tracking the life of a child, like before she started getting some support in the homegrown school feeding program, the way she was looking like, and then that was like 2012, and then we've been following up to where she is as of now. Yeah, but there hasn't been like the nutrition measurements as based on like what is found in the body of the child. Yeah. So basically, it's about the outlook of the child, and not necessarily what is in the body of the child. Yeah. And from the indicators, I think we've not had such measurements in terms of what the body is composed of for that child. So probably that one would be a little bit difficult. In terms of the sweet potato vines, what is happening is, especially like specifically for Malawi, we combine like, let's say, several foodstuffs together. So you have like, let's say, sweet potatoes, you have groundnuts, the groundnut meal, and then you have like, let's say, some added cooking oil a little bit. Yeah, so it is usually served as a mixture. Yeah. In terms of, let's say, the cost, yeah, that one, as per the evaluator that came just, I think, some 2 weeks ago, advised us that probably we should reduce in terms of, let's say, how many foodstuffs do we provide to the child so that it becomes sustainable. Because what is happening as of now, because of the drought, the food prices are increasing. As a result, in terms of, like, let's say, the quantities that the schools have to buy, as per the budget that they have, they are in some way like being reduced. So, yeah, that's the challenge that we have. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Katarina Eriksson, the Tetra Laval, Food for Development Office. Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. We are involved in, Tetra Pak is involved in school feeding programs in 56 countries at present, I think. Funding is always a challenge, and could you elaborate on that? You said you are working with the government, with Ministry of Education, Ministry of Agriculture. I saw in one of the slides that there is some donor funding this project. So what happens when this project is over? Yeah. What's the plan for sustainability? Is the government gradually taking over? What's the situation? And are there other measures how communities can start to support it themselves, or what's the plan?
All right, thanks. Because of the sustainability issue, that's why we've come to work with the Ministry of Education. Because in the beginning, it was like we faked FAO and WFP. But then that one was considered like an isolation from the whole system. But what we are doing now is that we are involving the government, both the Ministry of Agriculture, because they have got already established extension workers. So these workers, they are receiving, like, let's say, their salaries from government. And we believe that because of their involvement, like this time, they would be able to provide the extension methodologies to the farmers that we are working with, even in the absence of funding. And then we also, together with government as well, we are drafting another model, like how would we do it without external funding? That is meaning external funding, meaning funding from within the government. Yeah, the government of Malawi. So in addition to that, we've also, I think I didn't mention it there, there are also some like school gardens, but then the communities would come and take care of the gardens, apart from a small garden that is being taken care of by children. The small one is for just raining purposes, but the larger one is that these farmers or the community, they are producing the crops to add on what is being bought by the school through the funding from the donors. So we believe that this the second model would be sustainable, and probably even in the absence of funding of absence of donors, still more something would be done. And there was also a discussion that probably we can start with. This time we have concentrated in the southern, central and southern, but then there is also a discussion that we can scale up to the north and do about 43 schools again as just a start for the government. Yeah.
Okay, one more question. Yeah, that's you. Yeah.
I'm Hayola Lawal, APC Scandinavia.
Can you stand up, please, so that
yeah, it's really.
Hello?
Oh, it's only for recording.
Okay. My name is Hayola Lawal from APC Scandinavia. First up, I would like to commend you for this great initiative and terrific presentation. And listening to your presentation, I tend to think that this idea worth replicating in most developing countries. However, you have not been able to come up about the challenges. Tell us a little bit about the SWOT analysis and what could likely be, and how you've been able to overcome those challenges you faced, and if there's going to be any sustainability or replication in all the places, what is your advice for the people that might likely want to tap into your knowledge? Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So I think as of now, the key challenge has been in terms of flow of funds, because from what I showed you, I said that the WFP would send funds to the schools for the schools to buy the foodstuffs from the communities. But then when the schools have not managed to reconcile their reports in time, it happens that WFP would not release funding to the schools in time as well. So sometimes you would find that there is a gap in feeding the children because the school has failed to reconcile in time. Yeah. I'm seeing some heads because exactly. So because that's very practical, and we have experienced it, and we've worked together with the WFP to iron that out, and it is working. Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for others wishing to take on your model?
Yes. The thing is, from what I've learned is that probably we start together. Especially all the stakeholders that would be involved, the government, both the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Agriculture, and the civil society, because it's the voice for the voiceless, especially in the developing countries. Yeah, so because what we saw is that the issue of sustainability came in later, when we had already started. So probably that would be one of the recommendations. Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Excellent. Oh, do we have our representative from Frush? Okay. So we start with Alwan. We are very fortunate. Please, ladies, come. I think all of you, even if you're not all presenting, please. We want to have you all up there. And if you want to stand, This is, please stand. Okay, this is, we're trying to make it easy for the live streaming and all that, but the chair is, a little bit. Yeah, well, okay, so I want you, very good. Everybody up and shaking hands. Excellent. So you won't all die. Okay, are you all ready to make your presentation? And we need to begin by presenting yourselves first. Okay, and then you can make your presentation. I'm going to give you my time. I'm not going to stop. So I'm giving you my minute. So, okay. Very good. Okay, sorry. Happiness is always short-lived. As my mother says. Okay. Please sit down again. Thank you. Okay. We are very fortunate today to have with us a delegation from the African Women's Agribusiness Network. At SIANI, we're very fond of networks, and we were very happy that you could be with us today. I'd like you all to introduce yourselves individually and then proceed with a presentation on the view from the producer.
Hello, everybody. My name is Christine. I come from Burundi. It's in East Africa. And I'm a farmer, flower farmer, and a vegetable farmer. And I'm a member of AWAN, which is the African Women Agribusiness Network. I'm happy to be here.
Hello all. My name is Mary Kamanda. I'm from Kenya. And I'm the regional secretary for AWAN, which is the African Women Agribusiness Network. I'm a farmer. I grow indigenous African vegetables, and I also process and package honey. I'm happy to be here too.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rose Romanus from Tanzania, member of AWAN. I'm the vice chair of AWAN Tanzania and treasurer for AWAN East Africa. I'm a food processor. I process whole grains, spices, especially ginger, cinnamon, and garlic. And also I'm an advocate of healthy eating, though I'm obese, but I'm one of
Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Felicia Muriuki. I'm the regional chair of AWAN, and I am a honey processor and also grow strawberries, and my family is in coffee and tea production. So we're going to go through a small presentation. I use the mic. Does this not work? It's working. Okay. So I'll go through a short presentation about what AWAN is, and then my colleagues can contribute about the different aspects. I'm from Kenya. So AWAN began in 2002 as a regional body, and the idea behind AWAN was to grow key players in the global market. A lot of the people who started AWAN, it was about exports, and we're looking to go into the AGOA market. So we're in various sectors: tea and coffee, fruit and vegetable, dried products, dairy, and aquaculture. So various people in different aspects. A lot of the people were looking for their AGOA market, so these are big export, women in export. And over the years, I think we did a lot of successful things in terms of going, holding market access aspects B2B. But as we went along, we realized that as long as the value chains further down the road are not as well established, we were not going to reach our goal. And about 20% of our members were actually doing export, but the rest of the 80% is what now we began to focus on because of aspects of food security, because of aspects of how do you manage your value chains. If your bottom of the pyramid is not strong, the rest of it are not able to supply. So AWAN's mission is to provide that platform for women in Eastern Africa that advises, empowers, commercializes, and promotes their agribusinesses. And this is our value proposition. It's a women-driven organization focused on women and youth in agribusiness. It provides business support for sustainable agricultural value chains to its members by providing the technical, advisory, financial, mentorship, policy formulation services. And it offers a platform for networking. And the idea is to enable them grow and scale up their enterprises, enhance food security and wealth creation. So I talk very fast. Somebody slow me down if I didn't. Yeah? Okay. Okay, so we meet some of our members, our customers, through networking activities. We have monthly meetings in the different countries, various chapters. We have open monthly meetings. We have field days where we exchange meetings between the countries or even within ourselves. We go and visit somebody, have exchange visits. We participate in different sector-specific meetings because one of the things we noticed with ourselves, sometimes because we're in so many sectors, we really need to be in also other sector-specific programs. So a lot of networking in that. We have different partners and we meet them in those ways. And then cross-cutting issues, we have a website and all that. You can visit us. One of the things in AWAN is realizing, somebody mentioned about training and awareness aspects. If in terms of entrepreneurship, how do we build our entrepreneurship skills? As long as we're not strong in our entrepreneurship skills, we may be growing excellent things, but we're not able to sustain our businesses. So we've been having different courses, women enterprise development courses, to help us upscale what we're doing. Also talking about standards. With the export team, the 20% in our group that are exporters, that was a non-issue. I mean, you have to be able to be standardized to be able to export. But for the other group, maybe it wouldn't have made much sense to do that because they're going into the local market. But more and more, it's important for us, especially in terms of food security, to bring the awareness of why do we need those good agricultural practices if you're going to even supply to the local markets, so that we're not exporting all the good stuff and then we're eating poor nutrition and eating things that are not healthy for ourselves. So financial literacy is also important. Mentoring is something that we started a while ago in terms of the exporters, mentoring the non-exporters, what are the things that we need to do, and that has worked very well for us. Market access has also been very important. Where are people exporting to? How do you get into the local market? How can you pull somebody else along? Finances have also been a big challenge. And I think in any meeting that you ask, what are the challenges? It's always finances. So we started the AWAN SACCO in Kenya. In Tanzania, they have a different SACCO that they work with. In Uganda, they have an investment club. So different models for different countries. But the idea is how can we pull our monies together in terms of savings. We lend out at 1% and are able to at least begin the process of how do we save, how do we manage our businesses. And information sharing, talking about a virtual marketplace, where are the good markets, where can we access different things. And then also green technology. We've been talking about green technology and we have green ambassadors in the different countries. Just realizing the aspects of water are very important. How do we manage our waste? Can we improve it better? So those are some of the people that we trained in the region in terms of mentoring, providing access to finance, entrepreneurship, lobby, and advocacy is also very key, especially for women within different agricultural sectors. Yes, we're the most who work in that sector, but sometimes we don't affect the policy because we're just absent in the decision-making tables. So that's one of the things we've really been pushing for, is to be able to be in the decision-making arena so that we can actually make an impact in what affects us. So the idea is to increase entrepreneurship and technical skills, sufficient, healthy, safe, nutritious agricultural food, create wealth in terms of do our businesses actually make money, and are we able to buy other things? Are we able to take our children to school? And also just realizing that when we are not aware of some of these things, the impact is actually quite negative in terms of how we use our land, how we use our water, technology. We are not very tech savvy, some of us, so we're learning how to use technology to improve that and how we can improve our communities. So just sharing some of the things, some of the meetings we have and what it is about. For example, having field days, what kind of irrigation is available to us? Can we buy in bulk? A B2B to, I think that was Sweden and Norway, Mary. And visiting different groups and realizing, even in families, sometimes you don't just train the women, you have to pull along the men because it has an impact in terms of culture. And visiting women, and I was going to give an example of how do we work. Yes, we really meet the businesswoman, but behind this businesswoman, we have outgrowers and other people who supply us in a sense. So some of us have work within an estate, so 50 or so, or perhaps even 100 permanent workers. But in terms of this particular farmer has 3,000 farmers who have probably 2 cattle and things like that, and she wanted to pasteurize. But in recognition of how poor they manage their cattle, so talking about hygiene of that, talking about how do you put your silage together, and in this case we work a lot with our Ministry of Agriculture to improve that. And just realizing that the cattle are sitting in a lot of manure, how can you clean that? How can you turn that into biogas? And then it means education for the children because they have lighting so they can learn at night. It means talk about why are you feeding your cows only dry matter? What else can you feed them? So in that particular group at the end, a lot of the questions were to do with where are the markets? What can we produce for which market? So having access to market both locally and internationally are very important. And also in terms of where can we get water? Can we purchase water or can we build our borehole together? So those are some of the aspects that we talk about and help each other grow in. The question was asked about food basket. And we've been working with the Gracia Michel Trust in terms of how can we better develop a food basket. So thinking more holistically, how can we create those meaningful platforms for women? How can we create a ready market? One of our members is putting together good seed, because sometimes good seed is very challenging, and being able to import that and supporting her farmers with the right potato seed, but not just so they grow and then we get a clut in the market, but more focusing on one buyer who's interested, the social entrepreneurs, we would think of them, who would then support buy their products and be able to produce a very specific potato that they're making potato chips. So more and more working with that kind of social entrepreneur who's able to get the good potato seeds, able to support with various inputs, and then it works both down the value chain and further up into the markets. The idea also creating jobs and talking about how do we produce good quality and affordable inputs and having the right promoting regional trade. I think one of the aspects about AWAN is having members in the different countries being able to supply in other countries what is easily available and exchange those ideas. That's been very beneficial in having that group. I'll let the others just input in terms of how their businesses are able to, what you're going to prepare. Sorry, but Rose.
Okay, as I said before, I'm a food processor. I am an advocate of healthy eating, and I produce whole grains, whole maize flour, whole wheat flour, whole sorghum flour, and whatever that is grain, but it has to be whole. Why? Because there is this culture of refining grains, and from history it shows that this started during the World Wars because there was a need to keep, to store the grains for a longer time. But now we are not in war, but still we are refining grains. So what I'm doing is to change the mindset, the eating habits. We are producers of grains in Tanzania. In fact, we produce even in excess and we sell to neighboring countries. But yet, as the previous slide showed, we are facing 40% children who are not healthy. Okay, so this is because of poor eating habits. Why? Because we don't value what we produce, or maybe we don't know how valuable that what we produce is. So my main task is to make people aware that they have to change their eating styles and moved back to the traditional way of eating, because previously they used to take whole grains, but now they've just shifted to refined grains. And from where I come from, they even soak the maize in water for 3 days to remove everything. So they take something that is really, plain. But it's very difficult to make them, change, because they say that the whole maize grain is not tasty. So they are for taste and not for nutrition. So this is what I'm doing. And again, with food processing, we are trying to address the post-harvest loss. We produce in excess. In vegetables, we have vegetables in excess, so we have no way we have no good way of preserving the veg so that we can keep them longer. So I have got a solar dryer which I use also to dehydrate vegetables, especially those which are traditionally, liked by our people, like cassava leaves, peas leaves, and so forth. And I also process spices, but mostly I use the solar dryer so that I do not lose the taste, the aroma, and even the nutritional value of the spices. So I encourage my customers to take the spices when preparing their meals, not just for taste, but also for the nutritional value. I try to educate them on what ginger is going to do for them, what garlic is going to do for them, what cinnamon is going to do for them, and how healthy these spices are. We have got also spices in Tanzania, in Zanzibar, but yet people are not using, not because they don't have, but because they don't know how valuable the spices are for their bodies. So this is what I'm doing as an entrepreneur and a food processor. And with R1 Tanzania, we are working as a team. Through mentorship program, we have been able to link those who are farmers, members who are farmers, with those who are processors, so that at least we can, improve the value chain within the network. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
As for me, I'm into processing and packaging the honey, and basically we have a lot of people who are in apiculture, and you find that they may not know exactly what they need to do with the honey. So we've been buying honey from the farmers and bringing the honey to Nairobi, processing it and packaging it, and we are also helping them to understand the values of the honey. Though culturally, almost every tribe, we have 42 tribes in Kenya, basically they were using honey, but it depends. The others were using it to make alcohol, others were using it just to eat, others were using, it's for various needs. So we are also trying to incorporate modern ways of using things like, what would I call it? Using, I keep forgetting, but at least using some of the honey waste to prepare other things like lotions, making the lip balms and all that kind of stuff, which is, it's a more natural way of being able to have something that is good to use for the body. And now on issues relating to indigenous African vegetables, just as Rose has said, that, in Kenya with the 42 tribes, we have various ways of eating. Our eating habits are quite diverse. So you find that there are some vegetables that would be of very good benefits to families. So we try to also use that to share with other tribes so that they are able to understand, why do you eat this? And you show them how to prepare it. I was initially working for a Dutch organization that is based in Wageningen University in Netherlands, and we came up with a book that was covering the various vegetables that were growing in Africa. I was not a farmer before, but that really encouraged me, and I started looking at the various ways that we can be able to share and diversify this information. So that's why I come in on the issues of African indigenous vegetables. We have some, Rose talked about cereals. Culturally, we also have some cereals that were used by pregnant mothers, some which were used to, for lactating mothers, because they would be able to help to produce more milk that was more nutritious. So we are trying to also bring and diversify and share that information as much as possible. So those are some of the kind of things that we're trying to do, going back to our culture. It's not that our people did not know what was good for us, but I think with modernity, people started discarding what they thought. They started looking at it as primitive. It's not primitive. And what we thought was primitive is now what we are trying to go back to, but incorporate some sense of good knowledge, having good knowledge to be able to know that it really means a lot to us. So that's what we are also trying to do in Kenya. Thank you.
Okay, I will not speak a lot of words. I speak French, but I will try to speak in English. So, as I said, I come from Burundi and I grow flowers. And I'm very happy to be in this meeting because what they were talking about, I live it every day. I'm a farmer. I live at the field. I'm at the field. And this thing they talk about stunting. Now I realize when I went to Amsterdam, I found all those people, they are tall. And I say, how come all those people are tall and we are short? And to say the truth, that's true. That's real true. It's about nutrition. I mean, mainly it's about nutrition. And also another part of my country is the south. Those people, they are tall and they live long. But the area where I am, it's a hot area. We are hard workers. We are short. And we don't live long, but I will live long. So at my farm, I grow flowers. I'm the only farm in the whole country. So this is like a strange crop. But beside that, I have those people who come to work, not permanent workers, but day workers. And you can see around 10, around 11, those people are very weak because we grow in the open, and around that time 11 we have like 28-30 degrees Celsius. It's very hot. And in our way of living, in our, I will not say culture, it's rural people are not used to eat in the morning. So they just wake up and then they go to work. So one day I decided to introduce watermelon. Watermelon is it a vegetable or it's a fruit, but it can be a vegetable. It looks like this vegetable. So after 3 months, we started to harvest. Those people, they didn't know about it. So we cut in pieces. We sit under the mango tree and then we start eating. From that time up to now, those people, they are growing those watermelon at their places. Why? Because first, they were no more thirsty because there is a lot of water in that fruit. And also you feel full. And what I'm happy to say about is that area, it's a cassava today, it's cassava tomorrow, it's cassava next week, after 1 week, either leaves or
the tuber,
the roots, prepared maybe in another way. So they could discover that there is something else, especially for men and grown-up people, because fruits are supposed to be for children. So this malnutrition, I think it's a very, very important issue, even more important than this weather, climate they're talking about, because it's everyday life. Yeah. If you don't invest in life today, there is no tomorrow. So, and to add something, I think we need to emphasize on women, because women are the ones to cultivate, to know what they're going to put in the land. Women are the ones to prepare the food. Women are the ones to give food to the whole family. So if they are aware and they are educated about what to do, what to prepare, how to prepare it, to know that the whole family needs to eat like the 5 groups. That's the biggest investment I think we could do. Thank you.
Wait just a moment. All right, I'm decided to sacrifice my closing remarks here because I think this is so interesting, and rearrange the plenary. So, does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, we have 2 back there.
Yeah, thank you all. My name is Mary Brackner. I'm representing the Afri Forum, that is African in Scandinavian Forum. Basically, I'm the coordinator, and thank you, Mr. Honorable, because he's the one that invited me. I'm in Nigeria, and we have been living in Scandinavia for a while. But we believe that what should we do, to help, the African continent? And with what my sisters are doing here, I believe men in the house, you will pardon me, because we women are the nation builders. So I give you kudos for that good job that you have been doing. But the thing I wanted to ask is that, do you plan, in future to how do I say, to transfer all this knowledge that you are having to the youth, especially the young ones, between the age of 20 to 30, because when you look at the Kenya and all those east area, the youth are getting involved in terrorists because they are idle. Do you plan in the future that, okay, all these things that you are doing now, you want to get them involved and impart this knowledge into the life of the youth? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And then we'll take one more question. Madeleine, if you want to have a question, right there.
Yeah. So, for you who don't know me, I am Madeleine Fogde, and I'm also coordinating the SIANI International Network Initiative, one of the organizers. And I just want to thank all the speakers and all the attendants also for coming here today. And as we have this knowledgeable group from A1 here on the stage, I would like to ask you a question, because we work in a network, we address a lot of questions, and we also transfer it to the youth in Sweden and also in Africa. So yeah. So we have a youth page. You can join that later. But I would like to ask, we are working across sectors, and we have discovered that there is we are here discussing nutrition, which is really good. We are talking about production, but we can also link it to other sectors which will influence what people eat, have we discovered. And we have seen very interesting links with access to energy and what people actually can consume, and I don't know if that affects also the cooking time for whole grain products compared to the refined, because that is of course a very important choice when you choose your diet, if I have energy enough to cook what I am supposed to cook. So I just like to see if you perceive this is related to the question as well, because we work with all sectors, and I just want to hear a little bit about it. We have worked with this energy access and food security and nutrition.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll let you, you have one. Okay, I'll let you start, okay, and divide it up. Energy and youth.
Okay, thank you. In fact, we are involving youth. Like when we started, it was a women network. So we were mostly women of my age and even over my age. But now we have established, a wing of youths who fall under the mentorship program. Like in Tanzania, every year we visit one university, and we speak to them about opportunities which are there in agribusiness. And also we talk to them about nutrition, how healthy they can be if they improve their healthy habits, their eating habits. And we realize that even though the university is at the capital city, Dar es Salaam, but mostly they survive through fried potatoes, through, rice. they don't take veg because most of them don't like veg. Some of them they consider eating veg as primitive, rural eating style, and also they don't just take fruits, not because they can't afford, because most of them are sponsored by the government, but because why should they take a fruit instead of a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi-Cola? So they opt for a soft drink, better than a fruit. So it's just a matter of educating them. And also, we are working with a school on the gardening, sack gardening. We have got these empty sacks whereby we fill sand in it, and then we train them on how they can improve their health by growing vegetables. And we are working with grade 4 students. They enjoy it very much, and they have really changed their families through telling them what to do when it comes to vegetable eating. So we have considered that the youth program. Regarding energy, we are in contract with Rural Energy Agency in training women on using waste from maize to make charcoal, because mostly in Tanzania they use charcoal. So this year we signed the contract last year. So this year we are going to work in 2 regions to train women on how they can use the maize waste to produce charcoal, and also dry waste from coconut to make charcoal. Therefore, this will improve the energy, and it's also a cheaper energy, and it's a source of income too. Yeah.
Anyone else want to have youth or energy?
I think it's one of the things that when we're reviewing our strategic plan, it's realizing, yes, we need to include the youth, and we're doing it mostly on social media. So there's a lot of effort to include youth. And the other question you asked was also, how do you not only pass on the baton, but Nigeria, West Africa was actually one of the Ghana came to introduce us to AWAN and how to work with other people. And we've had opportunity also to talk to people in West Africa and even Zimbabwe and Zambia on improving that. And definitely youth are very important. The other question we were talking about is the green technology. A lot of effort we've put into especially biogas. We have a lot of waste in that sense. So how can we utilize that in especially cooking? So a lot of the members have had opportunity to even calculate how much would I save, how much would I make in doing that. And quite a few of the people who did the training have actually begun putting together the biogas systems. There's one that is more affordable than the norm. It's called Flexi Biogas. You can move it around as you move around the kettle So that's been an important aspect about it. Do you want to contribute? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. One more question, then.
I'm back again on stage for a few seconds. I just advise. I'll first commend you guys you women for the fantastic effort you're putting into making Africa a better place. In terms of the youth, I would suggest that you can look for a role model, maybe a football star, because we know in Africa, football is like kind of our most popular game. And every youth can relate, an average youth in any country in Africa can relate to football. And they have a star. There's always in every country, there's always a superstar who is playing in international league in Europe or somewhere else that they look up to. And I think if you could involve such a person in promoting the values of nutrition, maybe, you display him on your Facebook or whichever platform you're using, it will attract and it will enable the youth to connect with your ideas. And secondly, just to you, madam, regarding people dying long and people dying short, there are a lot of factors that are involved, though. But I will encourage that you promote the idea of intermarriage between those tribes so that you'll be able to leverage it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, okay, well, just 2 seconds. Wait. Yeah, you can do that. I want to ask one little bit rude question. I wonder if there's an aman. I just want you to discuss a little bit the necessity of having a woman's network and why it isn't just a network of agribusiness producers. Yeah, please. And after that, you'll get a present. Since I'm being rude.
There are many things about we're women, so we're not going to start a man. But I think there's some things unique about women in our context that necessitated that why we began Awan. Not the gender equality issue. I think I can speak about myself and then move on to others. In terms of how owning the land, it's family owned, so the decisions that are involved in that are a little bit more complex in what you grow there, how you grow it, and how you pass it on to the next generation and things like that. Access to finance. Is it easier for men a lot of men were in the already trading in global trade. So women are more disadvantaged in that sense. And agriculture, I guess, in going to get collateral and things from the bank, it's so much more difficult for women. So in terms of how do we sit around the table and discuss how did you do this? How can I learn from that? Can I replicate what you're doing? Those kind of conversations became more important for us. I think men are already good at it and already doing it, probably not sharing as much as they should have. But so sitting around and having a formalized way of learning, passing it on to somebody else is one of the main reasons that we began. Somebody else want to?
Yeah, in the case of Tanzania, for those of you who know the history of Tanzania, we got independence in 1961. And just after independence, we nationalized all the major means of production and we were socialist. It was not until 1995 when we moved back to the privatization of the means of production. And guess what? Men were smarter enough to grasp all the opportunities, and therefore women were left behind in the villages, just producing and selling to men, and men were taking now the products to the local market and also to the global markets. And therefore Awan is there to make also men not remain in the villages to produce and then sell to middlemen who are men, and also to big sellers in the global market. Instead, we want women now to move ahead and go up to the global market. That's why we have Awan. But our man is somehow indirectly there, because when we deal with youths, we do not segregate. We have got both ladies, girls and boys. So a man is there indirectly. Okay. Yeah.
It's the same. Yeah, it's the same. I think they should make you foreign minister. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Wait. We have a small. SIANI is very proud to have published and have several co-authors here of transforming gender relations in sub-Saharan African agriculture. And we thank you very much for coming from. Karibu, Mama. Karibu, Mama. And thank you very much for coming. Okay, now we move on to our last presentation here, which, strangely enough, is about female smallholders, integrating them with a focus on nutrition. Okay, do you have a, no, just that, it's fine.
Yeah, just right.
Okay. Well, first,
excuse me? It was a bit heavy, so it takes a while
to go to the next slide. No, it's okay. Well, first of all, thank you very much. It was a great learning experience from us, from Frush. I think we're 4 people actually today. Normally, I go out and I do all these lectures at universities and conferences, and I just go there one person, and I say the word crop or hectare, anything related to agriculture, and all the students are like, wow, she's really knowledgeable. She knows a lot. And then I go to this audience, and I think I'm going to put all my technical expertise in the back and say just thank you very much. And I learned a lot today already, so I'm just honored that I'm here. And why am I here? And I was just sitting in the back thinking, well, can I even
can I contribute to this discussion at all? You guys are the ones, you're working on it. You're making the difference here. And I think what I realize is that, well, what makes us unique, Frush, and our story here, is that we're a tiny little business. We are the market leaders, blah, blah, smoothie producers in the Scandinavian countries, so big size that way, but we're 62 people, so we're a small company. But we don't work with any institutions or any NGOs or any governmental organizations in order to promote or to work with our CSR programs. Rather, what we do is that we go from here, from our small little company, and then we go to the farms in itself. And we have a lot of stories that we are sharing from the farms. So we're kind of trying to skip the bigger link, which is important as well, but we're trying to go straight there and see what it is that we find, and then communicate and take that responsibility on our shoulders, because we have decided about 5 years ago that at least 50% of all the fruit in our smoothies, they have to be from developing countries. And it's a threshold that we cannot compromise on. So we make new recipes, our marketing team, they make all kinds of fancy, new, trendy flavors every 6 months. 2 flavors every 6 months, but it has to be at least 50% from developing countries. And that's my responsibility to make sure that we're always abiding to that one. Some of them are at least 90%, I would say. So, blah, 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 Started in 2008, we're the market leaders in Sweden, Denmark, Finland, the Baltics, Iceland, Japan, And this one, a little bit more important for you guys. What we tell our marketing team, we have 2 of them right there, is that they can always communicate 3 things. So they have to communicate 3 things when they're talking about Frush everywhere. Of course, we need to be the best quality smoothie on the market. That means that we have to buy the best fruit from developing countries as well. We can't compromise on the flavor and the taste of it. We have to use a cheeky personality in order to get our target group, the young, the cool, urban, trendy people. But mostly, we believe in trading with developing countries, that is the most sustainable solution to ever overcoming the big issue of poverty. And we do that not just grabbing a political idea, because my background is in international politics. I come from nothing but from the beverage sector, and my CEO used to be the president of Coca-Cola in Africa, so he has it from his roots as well. But it's not because of our personal little interest. It's because we have our fruit farm program where we send out staff and consumers and media to go out and to working visits in fruit farms in developing countries in order to see for themselves how trade can actually prosper and change a community. And we call it Fruit on a Mission. It's our mission. So the core of the whole program is this one. It's our fruit farm trips. We've been to 24, 5-ish in the last 3 years. And we've been to all these countries that you see just before. I went to the next slide, that one. Right here, you see Malawi. Malawi has been mentioned a couple of times today, and it really sparked my attention a lot. Particularly, you said Salima as well, because a lot of our experiences are from Malawi mangoes. I'm sure you're familiar with them. And we've been there 10 times by now. I was there 3 weeks as well. So a lot of our experiences, a lot of our stories are actually Malawi mangoes in Salima as well. Guatemala, Thailand, Ecuador, Ethiopia, Peru, and India. And we're going to continue to grow on this one. The core of the trips is that all staff has to go. And if at all we can have them go before their first year of employment, then that's important. We like to get that done. Also, we're inviting customers, and when I say customers, it's the stores, it's the trade. We invite consumers, that's the end consumers, and then increasingly we invited media, so journalists, what we call public figures, people that we think can open some doors to the media and to the public that we can't just by being a small little commercial company. Someone that we trust will speak up their mind. And then we tell them, come with us, go to Malawi mangoes, live on the farm, go wake up early in the morning, go out to the smallholders, go and visit and see what kind of impact that buying that mango actually has for that fruit farmer. And we've been doing that for 3.5 years. And it doesn't really matter where we go to. Malawi is one of our closest to our hearts, and we continue to go back there. We have a lot of work and partnerships with them, but it doesn't really matter. Everywhere we go, we always get people coming home completely uplifted about all the amazing things that the fruit farms are doing in order to build the communities that they're surrounded by. So this is just a few of the things that we've seen. Obviously, this one is creating lots of jobs. Of course, it's both not skilled, but also engineers and biochemists and so on working on a processing facility. We get building schools, building health clinics, building infrastructure, roads, all kinds of initiatives that you would say that, at least from a social democratic point of view, that the government should take care of. But of course, it's not always being done. And also improving the CSR programs, trying to think about environment and trying to integrate the communities in these programs. And all these things, for you guys, it's obvious. Of course, this is what's going on. But for most people in the Nordic countries, even in Japan, like our news market way, this story is like, really? Is this working? Isn't small private businesses or big private businesses, isn't it just evil white men capitalists that come and want to destroy everything? Well, no, not if we do it the right way. And I think that what I've seen is that we are on the right path in many directions. So we have a lot of fights in Frush. We're a small company. We call it a fight in order to motivate it. And one of the fights is that we want to change the perspectives on trade, and we want to let the public know that as long as we do it in the responsible way, it is the right way to go on board. We also say things a little bit weird, like we should go out and buy global things. We should buy stuff from developing countries. We should also buy local. That's great. It's very trendy in the media right now to only grow your own apples and your own strawberries and so on, or be all local and political correct. But we're actually saying, hey, it's a good thing to go out and buy global as well. And then we have, I would say, the organic discussion, particularly in Denmark, and it's getting there in Sweden now as well. It's really big. Most bigger stores and chains in Denmark, they won't even take us in if we're not organic. And I have kids, and I give my kids organic goods, most of it. Yes, I do. Yet, I'm a little bit pragmatic whenever it comes to tropical fruit. Whenever it's mangoes from Malawi, for instance. And if we are requiring that Ngawe, who has 4 trees, that when he has finally been able to find someone who will actually buy in his mangoes for a fixed price, and he has grafted it into an Alfonso mango, getting the best one for the European market, if he has finally got that, and then there's a bug or a pest, if he can't spray it when he finally has something, I'm just not there in my mind. So that's why we're trying to take a pragmatic approach to the whole organic discussion and trying to get people to think about it a little bit. Like, one thing is that you go in your nice shoes and your nice bag, and you go to the grocery store and you want to be politically correct and only buy organic. Well, think about the bigger picture a little bit as well. That's what we're trying to say as well. So it's a lot of, you could say, not really popular, not the political correct fight that we're taking, but we're going to continue to do it. And all these stories that we see when we go to the fruit farms, we're trying to increasingly focus on communicating it here in the Nordics and in Europe and in Japan as well. So I go and I speak a lot at universities, go to a lot of conferences, try and see if we can get our message across, not in terms of marketing money, not big campaigns and so on, but with PR, trying to get our voices out there whenever we can. And we don't speak Frushmine, we speak the fruit farmers' voices, of course. I have a little movie and we don't have time to see it. No, it's like 7 minutes. No, no, I know it. So this is actually why we're here, and I don't think I have to go into this one because you are obviously very much aware of this one. And I only came in the last part of the WeFX presentation, but I'm sure that maize was mentioned a couple of times, and particularly in the area of where Malawi mangoes are operating in Salima, it's a big issue. Like, the only thing that you do eat is maize. It's for breakfast, dinner, and that's it, right? You don't get anything else. So what they've done is that they've seen a couple of failed, unfortunately, NGO projects, and I'm very happy to hear that some of them are actually successful. Maybe we can facilitate something right there. But particularly in terms of, for instance, cashews, that NGOs have given out to the farmers, and they teach them and they give them for free the cashew nuts, and then after a while they have to go and sell it to the market, then you can't get anything for it because it's way too expensive a crop, blah, 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 blah. That kind of short-term thinking, unfortunately, and at the same time with the failed government attempts of trying to produce even just produce more maize and then giving it out in quotas, and then if the villages can't get us enough, then the reason is because the whole donation and the aid structure has switched it from being one portion of money given into the Malawian government, and then there was some corruption stuff that they didn't want, so then now it's going to specific projects. So now the excuse from the government is that, well, we don't have any more money now, so now we can't do anything, right? So all these issues has encouraged Malawi Mango's full private business here to develop a new project that's called Garden to Mouth. And the ambition was to provide nutritional rich, and again, you guys are experts, so I don't have to talk to you about vitamin A and so on, but meals for the farm workers and the surrounding villages, and maybe, who knows, for more of Malawi at some point. And at the same time, getting income generation, getting some money that you can actually go out and buy stuff for. And how they did it was they started to focus on the female workforce, and then they trained them into training programs of nutritional insights. Why is it that you have to eat something else but maize? Getting some scientist recipes on what is the best supplementary crops and vegetables that you can grow in order to supplement the maize production. Teach them that, and then having a start at the actual farm where they start to teach them how to grow it and cook it as well, and then give that meal every day to the farm workers. Now they're being able to give them the crops that they can take home to their villages and then spread that message as well. At the same time, they're getting financial training, so they're able to make a bigger budget for their families. And this project, it started about a year and a half ago in the research process, and already it's growing very, very well. Challenges in this process, again, and I don't like to, I realize I'm in the lion's den here. There's a bunch of NGOs, and that is good, and it's great to hear that things are moving. Yet the experiences that we've had here is trying to reach out actually to various NGOs working in the area that are working specifically with childcare, where Malawi Mangoes it's a fruit farm, it's a big business. They are not experts in childcare, so they try to reach out to the NGOs and say, hey, can we do some kind of collaboration here? You know, you can come in, you can take care of the kids while we make sure that the workers. But 8 out of 10 didn't even answer, and 2 of them replied that no, not interested. A, because you're a private business, and B, because we don't want to have anything to do if it's not software. So if it's hardware, if it's building an actual school or building the road to it, then we can't have anything to do with it. And that sort of mentality of like the old, I would call it old-fashioned and almost naive, that the government has to take care of the infrastructure. The other ones have to build the railroads. The other ones have to build the roads. Well, it's just, that's not how it is right now, right? So I think what we take out of it is if we could just on the ground establish a little bit more open discussions amongst both government and private sector and NGOs, not just on a theoretical level, but actually on the ground, then that would be, I'd call it like the dream scenario, right? Unfortunately, still in many cases a dream. Smallholders in particular, that's also why we're here. Malawi Mangoes now, they have about 6,000, if not even more, I think, smallholders. They started in 2011, so they've been able to convince 6,000 smallholders to change their crops into the more nutritional and the bigger and the better. It's called Alfonso mango from India, right? I would say this outcome to go and see that suddenly you go from having 2 local varieties of trees and then to maybe having 600 big trees that actually you can sell into your farm, and at the same time consuming it for yourself. Because I read through the thing when I read the outline for today's program, that one of the issues was that, well, if you're just going to head and export and sell all your crops, what about the nutritional value for your family? That's not really what we see. we see that of course you're going to eat a part of it yourself. Plus you also have some other crops, and plus most likely like a local variety that is not suited for the Western standards and the Western way of thinking, like our taste buds, right? So I would say that the challenge is not really the lack of the consumption, it's more the I put here, it's the short-term mechanisms that affects the value chain when smallholders are introduced to crops that are not economically efficient. Yeah, too expensive to sell on the market, like I mentioned just before. So again, trying to get like a more of a holistic approach and not narrow-minded, but trying to think, okay, like of course you want to give and provide your family with the best nutritional value crops, but you also want to make money. You do. And trying to see if you can make that approach at the same time, yes, trying to be as environmental friendly as possible, keeping a pragmatic approach in that one. I think that would be the most efficient principle. Is that it? Yeah, that is it.
Thank you very much. Wow.
That's fast.
That excellent presentation. I mean, not only did you convince me about Frush, but I also got a lot of information from a non-Aggie.
Really? Well,
Yes.
thank you. Then I'm all happy.
But wait.
I'm waiting.
We might have a few questions
Yes.
here. We are going to sacrifice any summing up and conclusions and plenaries and all those things that actually I don't really like. So this is planned that we didn't. Question here.
Thank you for the presentation. I find it extremely interesting. I do buy a lot of fruit bottles, especially for my kids. But I also find you are very black and white. And I would have appreciated to actually, if your presentation had been a little bit more about the driving forces for Frush, and not so much about your war on aid and there was some other issues. The ecological.
Forces, what do you mean by that? Like, why are we engaging in this at all?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what you're doing is really good, I think, and it's really needed. But I also think that, I mean, there's a lot of farmers that wouldn't even qualify for being a producer for Frush at this state. So I think that, again, I mean, we do need aid, we do need trade, we do need governmental influence. So, but I think that if you could be a little bit more humble about that, it would actually make your presentation much more valuable. Because now, as I feel now, you sit and then you feel like you're really like you're onto a war, and do you really need to do that? It's my question.
Yeah, nice question. I think particular for this one, if you want to go ahead and you want to contribute something to a discussion with someone who's already very much specialist in your field, I think it's important for us to distinguish us and say that if there's anything new that we can bring upon this, then it is that we are a little bit more, yes, in our communication black and white than
an ag extension agent.
Yes, definitely. The other thing about the driving forces, like the why we would do this, well, we think that we have a responsibility, and we think that all companies who are actually getting their first product from developing countries, they need to know what's going on. Is it a good thing? And I think that curiosity and responsibility in knowing, like, what is it? We have to know before we go out and make a big marketing campaign whether this is a good thing or not. I think that is actually the driving force. Then, of course, to try and see if we can engage our staff and get them to see it with their own like with their own eyes, that is a motivational driver. It's also employer branding.
Okay. Yeah. Is there any more? Okay, 1, 2, and 3, and then we. Oh, all right. Well, try here first. Short, because now we have to. Now we're over time anyway. Go ahead.
My name is Herbert Smooienburg from GAIN, an NGO, but we work with the private sector quite a lot. I presented this morning on what we do in Malawi and Indonesia with the tea sector. My question to Frush is, I mean, the income generation by buying fruit from your producers is a great thing. But then you're talking about the nutritional programs and how to improve. How do you measure what effect your programs have?
Well, first of all, depending on what kind of programs it is. If you're talking about the Garden to Mouth, the nutritional program in itself, that one is not ours. I'm just Malawi Mango's voice here. I'm just speaking up their product. So all credit to them. We're just going down there and we're just trying to follow it and tracking it and communicating it. In terms of validating their projects, then it's only been a year right now, so let's wait and see. I'm working with Women Deliver, you know, the NGO, because there are a lot of NGOs that are good out there as well. Working with them right now with the Women Empowerment Project, particularly the Garden to Mouth one, trying to show the progress that they've done in the last year. So that's another way of doing it. Then Women Deliver will take over and try and go back in within a year or so and see where's the progress is right now. But in terms of us specifically and our projects is really to send out people to fruit farms and then communicating about it. And I think in terms of evaluating that, it's you can think of it internally. If our country managers and our marketing team, they didn't see the value for this, I wouldn't have a job, right? And I wouldn't be able to get all the resources that I do to focus on this. So I think that one is the most valid, like, evaluator of, does it even, you know, can we even do this? Does it even make sense for Fruition itself to focus on this?
Okay, thank you. Katja?
So I had a comment and a question. I don't remember the name of the lady with the blonde hair. Sarah. So I totally agree actually with what you have said. And my question basically on that is, what are you doing to influence the whole sector? So I think it's great what you are doing. And I think I've also marketing.
I'm sorry, talking to me or to Sarah?
To Sarah.
Okay.
To both of you.
Okay.
I'm taking up what she has said.
Okay.
And I think you haven't been here in the morning. I'm from UNILEVER.
Yes.
And
I heard. I saw it on my phone. I was watching.
Perfect. So basically, what we presented in the morning was on how do we try to be a pioneer in the tea sector to improve nutrition there. So my question is, how do you do that from a more sector perspective? I think it's great, and there needs to be always an activist to mobilize the industry. But I think the important thing is to use that energy to have to see the bigger picture and drive that change. So my question is on how do you do that in the industry, right?
I agree very much. I would say trying to engage, like we do right now, trying to go to as many conferences within the beverage industry, that's our field, right? As much as possible, and trying to engage in as many political discussions as we can. And try not to, particularly within the juice industry, there's a big CSR. That's what they like, the CSR platform, I think it's called, right? And I think for me, it's a lot more valuable whenever we try and erase all that about sustainability and CSR within the juice industry and try and integrate and and try and think, what can we do as an industry, like from a business point of view, in terms of making this and improving it and not just keeping it on the CSR shelf. So whenever we have big conferences and CEO is talking about, look how great things are, I think they should take upon this. You know, use it, like, at least if you have 10 slides, then use 4 slides on what is it actually that you're doing in order to improve the world today. It's a bit naive, yes, but I think we have a responsibility to do it.
We need to have our okay, quick, because you've been making lots of comments.
You know, that's why I'm here, though. And thank you very much for that great opportunity.
Yeah.
Basically, I have a lot of questions to ask from you.
Yeah.
Because of my experience in Coca-Cola, in the corporate and NGOs, and now political. I think, but the questions, maybe I'll take those ones after this.
Yes, fine.
But my basic question is, those farmers who are involved in Africa, how do you do the pricing? Who mediate between the price tag you place on the product you buy from them?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How do you give them a fair price rather than the other side? Thank you.
How we can do it, because we're
how you've been doing it, not how you're going to do it.
How we have been doing it is that we have a supplier, we have a middleman, right? A fruit mixer, because we have about 15 different fruits in each little glass bottle, right? So we have to use a fruit mixer who buys fruit and then mixes it and then shifts it up to us, right? And what we can do is that we can tell them, we can make a contract with them, a preferential contract, that's what it's called, saying, if you can get the fruit from Malawi mangoes, if you can get their bananas, do it. then he has to do it. That's how we can do it. We can't do any kind of contract farming or direct sourcing so that we say that we have to buy from there. We're way too small and we have 15 different kinds of fruits. So how it's working is that we have to make a contract with him saying you buy from there. And then we have a very close dialogue between me, us, we have the supplier, the middleman, and then we have the farm itself. A little triangle.
Okay, I think his question was though how you arrived at a price.
How do we arrive at the price? Well, the requirements that we set in preferential agreements is a matter of price and quality. So you have to meet those requirements. And if we have an issue with a farm which we haven't had, but if we would have an issue with a farm who cannot meet our price demand for that type of quality, then we go into a kind of compromise. We have to.
Okay. That's why we need aid.
Okay, all right. We've got to save a few. One last comment from
you have to.
All right.
You're Sida, you have to.
Yes, just a comment from Malawi.
Yes.
Yes, I know Malawi mangoes.
Yeah.
And I've been there. We've also taken our farmers to just learn about the plantation. Yeah, but then the other issue is, especially because I know Malawi mangoes as a company. And then we have, like, let's say, some community members who work in the company, in the farms. So the issue would be that probably Malawi mangoes would also try, like, let's say, some other initiatives, how to make sure that the smallholder farmers are benefiting from, let's say, the whole setup. Because in some ways, it's like, being a company, these smallholder farmers are left out. And that's why probably you would see that in those issues of, like, how do we work together, there have been, like, some of the NGOs that are directly involved in those, there have been, like, some resistances. So, yes, so that issue of how do we make sure that the smallholder farmers or the rural community is really benefiting from the initiatives, probably that has to be.
Well, I think as a very, very basic and primitive answer, because again, I'm not there on the ground, and you would know a lot more about this if you talk to the smallholders there. I've just visited numerous times, but I think just the fact that you actually can make agreements and contracts with at least 6,000 farmers, I think that is definitely benefiting them. And the fact that it's spreading that fast, I've seen other cases, particularly in Ethiopia, where it's been really hard to convince the smallholders to change their crops, particularly into passion fruit, because it takes a while. It takes longer for it to actually grow and be able to produce it. Like females have divorced their men for making that decision, so on. Like big issues here. But I think, particularly in Malawi, the fact that you can convince so many people within such little time, I would say that the mechanism is that it's worth it. Whether there are people outside of that would like to get into it, I think that's very interesting, and I think that's just a good potential. Yes, for sure.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Excellent presentation. Funnily enough, I'm not going to sum up and present any conclusions here. I'd just like to ask you to please fill in our form here for evaluation of the seminar. And then after you've done that job, then we would like to invite you to a sandwich wrap, a lunch mingle here outside the room. But that's your meal ticket. Okay, and a big thanks to everyone and all of you that were online too, and we streamed too, for attending today. I think all of us have gotten renewed energy and will move forward with nutrition issues in the future. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, yeah, I'll have to fill it up.